All right, let's talk about artificial intelligence. It's a term that is absolutely everywhere, but what does it actually mean? We're going to get past all the sci-fi hype and figure out what's really going on.
So let me just ask you this, right off the bat. When I say AI, what's the first image that pops into your head? Because for a lot of us, it's probably something straight out of a movie.
Maybe it's something like this, right? A machine that has its own thoughts, its own feelings, maybe even its own ambitions. I mean, Hollywood has certainly given us plenty of those to think about over the years.
Or hey, maybe your mind goes to a slightly darker place. You know, the dystopian headlines, the warnings about a future where the machines take over. It's a really common and honestly a really powerful image.
But what if the real story of AI isn't about conscious robots or the end of the world? What if it's something else entirely? Something more practical, more nuanced, and in a lot of ways, way more interesting. And that's exactly what we're going to break down.
So to really get what AI is all about, we have to start with this fundamental tension, this debate that's right at its core. You see, even the experts building these systems don't have one single definition. Their work is usually guided by one of two totally different goals.
And here are those two goals. On one side, you've got researchers focused on the process. Their big question is, can we build a machine that actually thinks like a person? One that mimics our messy, brilliant, and sometimes totally flawed way of making decisions. Then you have the other side, and they are focused purely on the result. They don't really care if the machine thinks like us as long as it gets the best possible outcome. They are chasing the perfect, most rational decision maker.
Okay, now let's see how this builds into a really useful framework for understanding the whole field. We can take that tension, process versus result, or as we'll call it, thinking versus acting, and we can add another dimension. Are we aiming for a human-like performance or a perfect, ideal rationality? This gives us four completely different ways to look at AI.
And this chart just maps it all out beautifully. So let's just take a second here. In the top left corner, you've got thinking humanly. This is the world of cognitive science, trying to literally model how the human brain works. Now over to the right, acting humanly. This is the famous Turing test. Can a machine's behavior fool you into thinking it's a person? Then down in the bottom left, thinking rationally. This is about pure, formal logic, using the laws of thought to solve problems flawlessly. And then we get to the bottom right, acting rationally. And this right here is the big reveal. This is where almost all of today's modern AI research and applications actually live. And it's all about creating systems or agents that take actions to get the best possible result.
And you can see this shift just by looking at how people have talked about it. This quote from 1985 perfectly captures that big early ambition, this dream of creating literal machines with minds. I mean, that's the thinking humanly camp in a nutshell.
Now contrast that with this definition from just a few years later, in 1992. Notice how the language has totally changed? It's not about minds anymore. It's about computations that let a system perceive, reason, and act. This perfectly describes that acting rationally approach that absolutely dominates the field today.
So let's take this whole framework and apply it to the technology that we all use every single day. This brings us to a really critical distinction: the huge difference between the AI we have right now and the AI of science fiction.
You know, pretty much everything you think of as AI today falls under this one category: artificial narrow intelligence, or ANI. And what that means is that the AI is an absolute master of one specific job, but it's completely lost if you ask it to do anything outside of that very narrow specialty.
And this really showed the difference perfectly. Over on the left, you've got narrow AI. That's what we have right now. That's Netflix recommending a movie, your GPS navigating a route, your phone unlocking with your face. It's even a computer that can beat the world's best chess grandmaster. Now on the right, that's artificial general intelligence. That's the long-term, maybe even distant goal. This is the AI that can reason, understand context, and learn pretty much anything a human can. That's the stuff from the movies.
So, why did we go through all of this? Why does it matter? Well, it's because understanding these definitions gives you a really powerful mental model to see AI clearly, without all the hype. The whole point is to know what we're actually talking about when we say AI.
So here it is, your new mental model for AI. First, AI isn't one single thing. It's a huge field with at least 4 different goals. Second, most of the incredible progress we're seeing today is happening in that acting rationally category. We're just creating systems that are incredibly efficient at achieving specific goals. And finally, remember that every single AI you use today is a narrow AI, a specialist,
not the self-aware general AI from science fiction.
And all of that leaves us with one final really big question. We're building machines that are becoming superhuman at acting rationally to achieve goals. But does that path, the path of perfect, rational action, ever actually lead to the messy, unpredictable, and creative process that we call human thought? Now that's something to ponder. Thanks for tuning in.